I think the 4 included everyone.
Well, it says Chloe plus 4 others. So I'm going to go with 5. 5 of you have blue eyes. Oops, I should probably share my screen again. Oh, man. Come on. Okay, so we have 5 with blue eyes. I'm going to just say 0 with green eyes just to make it simple. And that means how many people have brown eyes? We're going to say 0 with other colors. We're doing blue or brown. We're getting exclusive. So how many are left? 21 minus 5? Anybody? Shout it out.
16.
Thank you. 16. Okay, so then it says the probability of selecting a person at random with brown eyes will be what, Ted?
Um, 16, right?
16 out of what?
Oh, 16 out of 21.
Good job. And then that's all it asks. Okay, so good job. All right, excellent. So probability, we're taking the smaller group that it's asking about and dividing it by the total sample space, okay? So let's go over these terms so that we can more specifically talk about probability instead of like the basic understanding we have at the top. So it says the number of trials is the total number of times an experiment is repeated, okay? Then the outcomes are the different results possible for one trial of the experiment. Is there anybody writing this down on paper that needs me to like slow way down so they can write the whole sentence? I'm going to assume that was a yes. I just heard a little blip of something.
Miss Roberts?
Yes.
Layla said that she texted you on Remind.
Yeah, I saw it.
Okay.
Yeah, she said it was still trying to connect. Oh, maybe that's her. Hey, look. Wade, you can put your hand down. So Layla, you just came in. We are doing these probability notes. Up at the top, we just did a bunch of probability examples that were super simple. I'm very confident you would have gotten them. And I'll post the completed notes at the top or on the page afterwards. So just go ahead and start with these terms to know. If you want to just listen and then write them down later, that's fine too. Okay, and then we have the frequency of a particular outcome is the number of times that this outcome is observed. Right, and then the list of all possible outcomes is called the sample space. And the outcome or set of outcomes in whose probability we are interested in is called an event. And a selection is random if each item to be selected is equally likely to be chosen. Very last one is the relative frequency of an outcome is the frequency of that outcome expressed as a fraction or percentage of the total number of trials. Okay, so those are the 7 key terms for our probability unit. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to copy that down and then we'll do a couple examples. And we'll just kind of use the examples from the top to fill in what the sample space, the event, and the probability is. And we're not going to do all 4. We'll maybe do like the first 2. If you really want to, we can do the first 3. Okay, so in number 1, the example at the top, it says a fair die is thrown. What is the probability of obtaining a 5 and obtaining an even number? So the sample space for example 1 at the very top is going to be all of the possible sides on the die. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there are 6 total outcomes in the sample space. And then we have 2 different events we were looking at. Okay, so event A was obtaining a 5. Okay, there was 1 chance of this happening. And the second event was obtaining an even number, so obtaining an even number. And there were 3 possible ways we could obtain an even number. So the first probability was 1 out of 6. The second one was 3 out of 6, which gives me 1/2. Okay, so at the bottom when it has like, can you develop a formula for finding the probability of event A? So the probability of A happening is going to be, how are we going to say this? Does it give a variable? So the number of times we could get the event A over n of our sample space. I think that's how we notate it. So this is our sample space. And this is our event. And the n just means like the number of times. The number of times we can get that event, and then over the number of times we can get the sample space. Okay, with the second example with the balls, we had 4 black balls and then 6 white balls. So we had black 4 times and then white, 6 times. I don't know if I should have done it this way, 4, 5, 6, for a total of 10 possibilities. And the event was choosing a white ball. And the probability ended up being 6 out of 10. which was 3 out of 5. So there were 10 total items in this, 6 total items in this. So that's where we're the 6 and the 10. So, I'm sorry. So this little chart really was just to help us identify like a specific generalized, well, specific and general are like antonyms. To find a general way to compute this information given a particular scenario. Okay. What questions do you guys have so far? Oh, I just looked on the back and I realized they use U as your sample space. I have seen S before as well, but it looks like on this sheet we're using U. Okay, so if you want to fix that. Sorry. Okay, so questions before we move to the back? Guys, I am seriously doubting that we're going to get all the way to tree diagrams today. Let's just see how far we go and then we'll evaluate at the end. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over unless somebody desperately needs it. Okay, so starting at the top, so we have a diagram, all right, and we're going to show how it represents our different scenarios that we're talking about. So U is going to represent our sample space. And the oval represents the event A. Okay, so this is our event A. Our U is our sample space, everything that can possibly happen. So N of A is the number of elements. In A. N of U is going to be the number of elements in the sample space. U. And then P of A is the probability of A happening. Okay. So P of A, as we wrote on the front, is going to be N of A over N of U. Questions? What questions do you guys have about that? Okay. The next sentence is literally just writing it out in words for the variables. Somebody, it sounded like somebody had a question, but I couldn't hear. Could you repeat? Did somebody have a question? Okay, so in here, we're just writing it out in words. So number of ways A can occur. This is number of possible outcomes. Okay. Okay, so then we have ways to find the sample space. So before we only talked about rolling one die, but what if we could roll a 2 or 3? It is best to make an organized list or table. So in example 5, we're going to go through an example of this, okay, showing how we would do this. So it says 2 fair die are thrown, or dice are thrown. Find the probability that the total of the scores on the 2 dice is 6. First, we have to list all of our possible outcomes, i.e. the sample space. Sorry for my handwriting. How many will there be? So we have